me get to the screen. Hey everyone, welcome to the AI Amigos show. It is just me and Jin Shao today. I'm James Garza, and Jin Shao, welcome.
Hi, it's my first time.
Long time listener, first time caller.
Get my
As the saying goes.
following. First time
Yeah.
calling.
I mean, I would imagine people would know Marina is in Argentina, so she's not able to join us today.
Yeah, she's the big down under, isn't it?
That's right. They walk upside down over there.
Yeah.
The other end of the planet. So yeah, so she won't. I would think, I'm not exactly 100% sure, but I think she'll be back with us next week. Anyway, so welcome everyone. So today we're going to be talking about Builder.ai. Big developments there in the last 24 hours, Jin Chao.
Yeah.
Big developments. What happened?
Well,
What did you do?
I quit. Stop quitting for them. But it was last week, right? We mentioned a little bit. Like I think I just said about Builder.ai kind of went bust. But this week there's more and more news coming out. There's more and more people digging about it. And just imagine, like Microsoft, I think it was a partner somehow. And so UAE as well was Qualta was Wells Fund was kind of invested in there as well, and there was a lot of money in there. And turns out there are like 700 Indian programmers programming the thing. So, like a call center, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it wasn't AI at all. It
wasn't AI. And then there was a lot of talking about how they inflated their sales number and all that. And as right now they gone bust, they still owe AWS 85 million cloud fee, and also Azure about 35 million, if I'm correct. Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's quite interesting. And I mean, obviously, I think Microsoft and AWS will be fine if they don't get paid. But
Yeah.
I mean, it is big news, and you can see, like, see the headlines in regards to this, Indian intelligence instead of artificial intelligence. Which, I mean, at the end of the day, it's perfectly fine to use someone like that, but don't say it's AI, right? And I'm sure they were not paying these people in India. I'm sure that they owe AWS and Microsoft.
Yeah.
They owe their workers a lot more money, or a lot of money.
This is what I don't understand. They have all the people programmed for them at the back end. How do they rack up such a big bill? I just don't understand. But the other funny thing is there's a new name for this kind of company now, and it's called AI washing.
So what does that mean, Jin Shao?
Yeah, so this term is one traditional software development company or service company rebrand themselves as artificial intelligence platform to capitalize on current market.
Okay. That's interesting. Well, I mean, we were gonna go through Builder.ai today. I mean, as far as like looking at their platform and how they build apps and things like that, and that was the plan anyway. We had to adjust as the market, but I mean, it is interesting how things are developed so quickly in the AI industry, and we're I know one that we've looked at before, discussed before, was Chegg, and how that was a publicly traded company. So I mean, it's not just something like, you say, oh well, Builder.ai was some company, that a private company that this happens in an industry, but you had something that was fully regulated, meaning they not, I shouldn't say fully regulated, but they went through the whole hoops of being publicly listed company. So you got to go through all the regulatory things to be publicly listed, publicly traded, and that stock just collapsed when ChatGPT brought in, you can upload your PDF files and from there and interact with them, and it's like gone, like So that is quite scary. you
Oh,
know,
yeah, definitely. And
I mean, because if you think about all the people that work there, thinking, oh, I'm working with this progressive startup, and I mean, and obviously startups are risky as it normally would be anyway. But I mean,
yeah.
is this the first effects of many different companies that are going to be negatively impacted?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the process changed a whole lot, right? And
Yeah.
everyone, I was just to trace back as well about how did I use internet on my daily job and all that.
Yeah.
I used to go to Stack Overflow. If I don't understand, I go to YouTube, watching
Geek for geeks.
videos.
Mhm.
Yeah, but now,
W3 schools. Like I can name all of the ones that I've
yeah,
looked at.
and now
Yeah.
you ask one of those model, say who's better at answering your questions, right? And
Yeah.
hardly going to any other website now. So yeah,
Well, I was
so
doing some stuff with GitHub today, and I was using Gemini, and it wasn't giving me solution,
mhm,
ChatGPT. So it's just interesting how one gives you a better solution in certain areas than others. That you would think there. I mean, obviously it's the underlying training data, but it's
yeah,
just interesting how one does tasks or jobs better than others, and in different areas. And
yeah, this is good to explore, especially and if DeepSeek was using kind of like OpenAI's training set, or would that be the same? I wonder where the training set does Google's Gemini coming from? Because my experiences with coding Gemini is very, very good,
Mhm.
and and GPT is kind of hit and miss, even with 4.0 now, is it called or something? The models.
Yeah.
Uh, but Claude is very, how to see that? Um, it gives you a lot of information.
Yeah.
Bit around the
Useful
edges
information.
a lot.
That's the
Yeah,
question.
yeah, bit around the bush a lot. Like for example, ask him to okay update my code to test something, okay, or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, and he can create a shitload of tests for me, but I just test this bit, like or
Yeah.
change the code a little bit.
So he's a
And
good bullshitter.
yeah, not really. Like it just how they sort the question. For example, if I'm coding something, there's a piece I want to look at. I wanted to. Can you test that out? Um, you know, if I give test that out in there, and Gemini might thinking out kind of quick line or terminal how to test it out, or
Yeah.
how to test it out yourself manually or adding some logs or something. But Claude I tend to like to create the whole test Python um, test the script to test that function. If the test script doesn't work, it created another test script. So my code base is just full of test stuff. It's quite annoying sometimes. Yeah,
Well,
but
Perplexity was one that you were talking about earlier, Jin
yeah,
Shao. I mean, you're liking the use of Perplexity?
just today because I find out as in Ireland, if you Revolut kind of subscription levels, there's a free Perplexity Pro in there, so that's why I'm using. Otherwise, I'm
So
not
you
paying
wouldn't use
another. I wouldn't pay
it.
another 15 or 20 quid. I'm putting only in one AI, right? So there's nobody have money to spread around all the models. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, one
Mm,
thing I was going to say when you were talking there in regards to just going back to the whole Builder AI, that it almost happened to OpenAI. Remember when DeepSeek came out,
mm,
and there was a big, well, it wasn't just OpenAI. It was also Gemini, Google, because it was like they developed this for so much less money.
yeah.
Obviously, then it wasn't that. It was more than that.
Hmm.
But nonetheless, that initial news came out and just kind of makes you see how vulnerable or how easy it's like that the valuations can be hit. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like, there's these valuations and beliefs of what AI can do and cannot do.
mm,
And so that would lead me to my next I'm going to segue here into, that's a nice segue I did there, Jinchao.
Yeah, definitely.
We're going to take a look at, I don't know if you guys saw the bond report by Mary Meeker. Mary Meeker, she was someone who worked with Morgan Stanley and now has gone on her own, a venture capitalist. And she would generate reports since like 1996, and she always was able to write some really good reports on like the internet and where she sees called Amazon. And so she generated this report in AI, and it's 340 pages, in show.
Yeah.
340 pages. Now, when I say it's a report, it's not a report like all words. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, Jin Shao.
I had a look at some because when I see the numbers, I kind of number of pages.
Well, for me, because I come from a financial background, I look at this and go, oh, now you're speaking my language.
That's very good. I'm still trying to find a way to put that into the notebook LM or something. It can give me a podcast and I can listen to it.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to do that. Here, let me just. Well, you don't need that. You got James Garza here.
Yeah.
I'm going to share my screen. So if you,
yeah.
So let's see here.
Add it to this thing.
Okay, so here's my screen. Let me just zoom in a little bit into this. Just that helps. So anyway, I'm on page 30. The only reason why, I'm jumping ahead. If you'll see, there's a lot of different when you talk about. I'm scrolling up here. We can provide the link if you guys just put in the comments there that you want it, and we'll give you the link to this. And you can download this PDF. So these are the 8 sections. I've only gone through the first 2.5 sections, if that. Well, no, not even, like 1.5, or up to two and a bit. Yeah. And so you'll see things like this, looking at various different, charge paying 1,000 words. Not going to go through all of this kind of stuff here, but I want to go to and just look at, you can go through some of this stuff and seeing what's going on here. And okay, so say the world is changing, unprecedented rates is an understatement. So we get here, is it happening faster than ever? Yes, it is, right? No, that we knew that already. But if we go to, and it's interesting, the one I liked here, look at this here, computing cycles over time. I mean, going back from like 1960, and we go to now, we're going from the era of CPUs to GPUs. And it's a very clear cut around 2015, 2017. And just look at how big that's gone. So we're in the AI era now. So we're going to say, it's a logarithmic scale. Look at that there, the growth there. Epochs per AI. So anyway, this was your, this is the supercomputer. They've got another plot like this, Jinsha, when you were asking about the size of the data training and how they're using that. But this is basically supercomputers and how many flops, Epoch there from 2019. And so we're going to just go to ChatGPT revenue, subscribers. Look at that. Look at the number of users. And look at this here, how they're just gone here completely up. ChatGPT hit 365 billion annual searches in 2 years versus Google took it.
What's the
this here is years since public launch, so you can see how long it took Google to get there, where OpenAI has just gotten there so quickly.
Okay. I got you now.
So it's 5.5 times faster than Google. So the people adopting AI is quite huge. So anyway, she explains that there. Knowledge distribution evolution over 6 centuries. First printing press, right? Look at that.
That's cool. That looks like cool.
I remember those screens. The first internet, public release, 1993. Look at that.
Okay.
And then here, 2022, OpenAI, ChatGPT. So what I want to get to is page here. This was an interesting the AI winter. And so that was, for whatever reason, in the 1960s, AI was equated to communism in the US. And so to use the word AI was like, this is a communist thing. And so this is where they had to use another term called machine learning. And so there was this AI winter, It's just, anyway, yeah. So you see Alan Turing over here, way back over here, right?
Yeah, and, the Turing test, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so we go now to second quarter of this year. We're still in. Yeah, we got till the end of this month. And so look at this here. This is so when you talked about the 4O. So edit, write or edit anything: emails, essays, contracts, poems, code. Summarize and explain complex material, like you were saying there, Jinchao. I want to put this report into there, and I wanted to, bring it down for me, explain it to me so I can understand it. So legal documents, research, or code into plain English. Tutor you on nearly any subject. Learn math, history, languages, test prep. Be your thinking partner. Brainstorm ideas, debug logic, and so on. Automate repetitive work. Role play anyone you need. Prep for interviews. I know some people are doing that. Simulate customers. Rehearse conversations. Connect to and I've actually going to that, like, not role playing, but I've used it to, like, in my emails and say, what's the tone of my email? And sometimes say, oh, that's defensive, or you're being aggressive there, or it'll tell you those kinds of things, in which sometimes you yourself don't really know what's going on, and that can really be beneficial in that. So connect to your tools. Look at this, write code for API, spreadsheets, calendars, or the web. Offer therapy and companionship. Wow. Talk you through your day, reframe thoughts, or just listen. Help you find purpose. Geez, that's a very big thing to say. And organize your life. I find purpose. Why am I here? Yes, I know what I'll do. I'll ask ChatGPT, and it will tell me.
Well, it's always positive. Is there nothing? It's all kind of safeguarded, right? You can't get bad stuff. So
yeah, you're really screwed up. You need help.
Yeah.
It's never gonna say this to you.
No.
Yeah. So these are the things you can do today. So then it goes 5 years into the future, and then 10 years into the future. So if you go now and they say, okay, let's say in 2030, what's AI going to be then?
Yeah.
Generate human level text, code, and logic, chatbot, software engineering, business plans, and legal analysis. There you go. Create full-length films and games, scripts, characters, scenes, gameplay mechanics, voice acting. So imagine this is what it's saying in 5 years. This is what it's going to be. Understand and speak and learn like a human. Emotionally aware assistants, real-time multilingual voice agents. Power advanced personal assistants, life planning, memory recall, coordination across all apps. Operate human-like robots, household helpers, elderly care, retail, and hospitality automation. Autonomous customer service and sales. So no longer will you call and talk to someone, you'll talk to a machine.
Yeah, it's kind of very a kind of bit
scary
there already. I know a lot of people was
that are doing this already.
Yeah, was talking about agents and all that. But the problem is integration, right? It probably more mature at 5 year later would be you wouldn't notice at all, probably.
Well, you were talking. I know we were talking yesterday about MCP and how MCP is being rolled out. They ChatGPT or OpenAI said they're rolling it out to work in chat. You can work on the back end with OpenAI and their SDK. You can use you can connect to an MCP that way, but they're going to use a full MCP integration into ChatGPT. So everyday users you can start integrating and start doing things as you're saying there. Like, so that's going to be a really interesting, and the way workflows and things are going to be working. So I think that's you see more. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, very soon. You're thinking about what you're doing on computer. Computer could be just the microphone left.
No more keyboard.
Do it, or just it can do it on your TV, and you chat to Java's that time probably will be, and it can connect to the multiple different MCPs. I mean, like MCP is already adopted by a topic, right? Claude. That's their platform. Inside, you can connect to any MCP you wanted to. And some news about AN it's funny as well. It's quite good because a lot of people have build MCP, support MCP now, but the new ones, if you building in their cloud environment, there are company verified MCP. They manage and maintain for you. For example, Tavly, if you're using in AI search, Tavly, you can You can bring you using the model to actually using the API to search the internet and gather information, come back. Now Tavily is it's verified provider MCP in NAN. So I would say a lot of those software company gonna be creating all those MCP for people to connect. You can pay for the service and all that. It's gonna
Well,
be more.
earlier when you were talking about it was who was it you were talking about? Was it Anthropic? You were saying that it gives you a lot of information and it just talks and gives you a lot more than you actually need. So it's generating a lot. I think when you talk about MCP, or we're talking about here, just to bring this more into context, is that I just saw something at the bottom of that page. The source here is ChatGPT in the bottom left-hand corner. We could do this ourselves. I guess at the top it should have been a very interesting thing. But anyway, in the medical, sorry, going back to the context, is that the MCP is going to then be able to put it into the context, because it goes and grabs all this data and train all this data. It's very generalized. So it's not in your context. So it generates a lot of stuff and go, well, that doesn't apply to me. That doesn't apply to me. Where MCP, that model context protocol, it's going to put it into the context. So it's going to do things that do apply to you and not give you things that do not apply to you. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Apart from connecting everything.
It kind of jumping a step. Let's say if you're normally doing this kind of thing in the OpenAI or any platform, you ask it to create a script to do certain things, to connect to the API, grab the information. So when you run that script, you get that information, you put that information back into the OpenAI. But now the MCP is running the script anything you want. So it cut out the kind of like a middleman. It's kind of rich. You get information you wanted back into the LLM a lot quicker. Just that's how I see it, kind of.
And that's why you're saying like those autonomous customer service and sales and things, those workflows are happening now. That's not 5 years from now. That's happening now.
Yeah, it's happening now. Happening now. We built something about like you can connect to the like thinking about connect to Google emails, Google Drive, all those things you
Google
would.
Calendar.
Yeah, TikTok is doing that. It's
Yeah.
all a lot of young kids are connecting using no code tools and connecting all those. They are doing it. It just in the future will be a lot more. Let's see if the CRM marketing kind of software has or sales team has the MCP they created. They wanted to sell. They still can sell the service. Instead of before you log into you just pay 20 or 30 quid. We'll give you an MCP connection to your account. So everything would be finished inside ChatGPT or Gemini
And it's all connected with your email, your calendar. So your life is just all of a sudden connected.
Yeah,
Which
so
is an exciting thing, but a scary thing at the same time.
I know. So that's what I'm saying. Like later on, you might just need a keyboard. You don't need a computer, right?
Well, what I'm saying is scary is that if someone just wants to mess with you, like hackers or governments. Sorry, that's conspiracy theory. But that it's all in one place. So basically, they can send emails that you didn't send. They can put stuff on your calendars. They can cancel things. They can do all kinds of things. So that's what I'm saying. That's where you have bad actors that could do things like that. So that's the scary part for me.
Yeah. Maybe it's digital identity of yourself is working for the company. You're on the beach drinking margarita. I enjoy the day.
Exactly. Yeah. So one of the things they were talking in this report further on, it was talking about the medical industry, and we'll take a look at the next 10 years. But just to finish this part is that they were saying like even medical doctors are using them for transcribing. Like if you go to the doctor, they transcribe notes. So what it says, that rather than recording, it will record. Or from now, they're saying that it's using their phone to record when you're seeing the doctor, to record the conversation. But it doesn't keep a recording. It instantly transcribes it and then saves the transcription, and that saves the doctor of having to do that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So so a lot of those hours that would have been spent doing that are no longer having to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe they need one of those machine learning and AI thing, not like a Gen AI thing, sort out their writing first, their prescriptions.
Yeah, that you can read it.
Read what it is. What did you
Yeah.
describe to me? This strictly line. What's that?
Exactly. So here, take a look. Here is 2035. Look at this. Conduct scientific research, design advanced technologies, simulate human-like minds, operate autonomous companies, perform complex physical tasks. I don't know how it's going to do that. Coordinate systems globally, so logistics, energy use, crisis response at scale, model full biological systems, offer expert level decisions, shape public debate and policy, so moderate forms, propose laws, and balance competing interests, and build immersive virtual worlds. So all of that is saying in 10 years, this is where we're going to be, right?
100%. I have no doubt.
So I was looking at, I'm going to just go, there was a on page, and I'm going to jump to page, I think it's page
Like
89.
all those stuff in 2035 they're talking about, like we see a lot of them already started, but they have issues, right? So
Yeah.
because I think most likely it's because the model capabilities and how we go about on those things, people are trying. We've seen a lot of those. You showed me the other day, like the GitHub stuff is talking about full financial team or no, the full company or something doing research, right? I was interesting as well. I told you I was trying to build myself some multi-agent stuff. But like the issue I have is to define what is goal, or what is the goal, and then when does the AI team you have complete a task, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah.
that's hard to define what is complete to it. And I think 10 years, they definitely gonna sort that out. The model we have, it will be like crazy events, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to change the landscape of work, and I think a lot of people are concerned in regards to losing jobs and displacement. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, I just think that the world that we are going to have is going to be much different. And that I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying so if you think about like the Industrial Revolution, so everyone used to build at home and things like we had this discussion before. We saw like the printing press things, people used to write by hand, but all of a sudden that all changed. But when that changed, like from going like someone making it home, now it's be made in factory. But do you remember that you still need people to buy? You need people, the money. This is how the economy works, right? I buy you create a good, I buy it. And the same thing with AI, like, it's going to take over these jobs, but then it's going to create new jobs.
Yeah. And there's a whole lot of different jobs. And when the AI taking over, generally speaking, you can, like, that's a good example of those first kind of industrial revolution, all that. When when the automation replaced a lot of people and the production gone up on the roof, and generally speaking, the cost went down. We can buy cheap stuff, right? So I would say this AI will kind of increase productivity in some way and will reduce some of those costs as well. Then there must be some benefit for us to the stuff we can buy it, but it will be very cheap soon, hopefully.
Yeah, well, and that's the point, Charles, that someone has to have money to buy it. So if you
Yeah,
don't have a job because AI is taking your job, then how are you going to buy the services that AI provides?
I know.
So, I mean, and it's going to require like upskilling or re-education of the workforce to work these jobs are going to be more complex. So, like for example, you used to build things at home, as I was using again the example. You work, very much with your hands, where then now you learn to run machines.
Yeah.
Run, these machines, and you have to learn and go to school and how does, engineering work and how you do this. It's going to be the same thing here. Like you're going to have to learn.
Maybe it's like we don't need to have money, and then you just buy back as the AI service, just like a Fed, how they buy their own bonds, right? I produce money, let me buy it back. There you go.
Well, someone's got to fund that stuff. So I was going to show you here. look at this. A new class of AI is emerging, and I think probably what we're going to end on this, Jinchao, and we can talk more about this. But next week we can talk more
Mm,
about this here. So AI agents, but equally, then you come out to here, go back to here, AGI,
mm-hmm,
and they go into AGI here. So I'd like to talk a bit about that. And so we've talked about AI agents already to a certain extent,
mm,
and how AI agents can work. And so rather than, building this big task, you break down the workflow and decompose it and then give each agent a specific thing to do because, it just can't do everything. And um, so you can see here, traditional chatbots designed to respond to prompts, often with rigid scripts or narrow flows. They could fetch answers, summarize text, or mimic conversations, but always in a reactive, limited frame. And then we have AI agents here. So again, like I'm telling you, I've only gone through the first 100 pages of this, and there's so much that we can uncover here to discuss because it's just an interesting time that we're living in,
mm-hmm.
and in a good way in regards to the world around us is changing, and it's exciting for all the new things that are going to happen, but it's scary as well because like what of all the what's that going to look like, how's my job, how's this going to work, how's that going to work, and you
Mm,
know yeah, it's discovery.
yeah, it just feels like all the big. I'm I'm waiting for that explosive moment again. Remember OpenAI when it came out? It was so far ahead of every single body, right? It was
Yeah.
like boom, it was like holy moly, it can do all those. And then there's a quiet moment. And then now I think everyone is kind of on the even field again. In it might some cases some model might overtake OpenAI for certain areas and all that. Like before, we never talk about any other one. We talk about OpenAI cost and all that. Now we're talking about Gemini, Claude, OpenAI, DeepSeek. So I would say the next a year or something, it might sound somebody did something crazy again, or maybe change the landscape altogether, even
Well, the
faster.
MCP stuff, I mean
Yeah.
obviously that hasn't really caught on yet, but and I
Mm.
think Gemini has a big advantage because it's integrated, as we were talking earlier, it's all integrated in like
Yeah.
email and calendar and
Yeah.
everything in Google Drive, so
Yeah.
you can interact with it, so it's in your workflow,
Mm.
where like OpenAI is outside of the workflow, and the only way OpenAI is going to come into that is MCP, right?
Yeah.
uh,
And then
you
I,
know,
I think that was the kind of post I wrote on LinkedIn as well about Google's A2A
yeah.
plus MCP, how it could build a distributed system. So you can take the human being out of the equation anymore. There's no human in the loop. Basically, any of those MCP or that they have like a kind of N oh sorry, I'm naming A2A. Jesus, all those people creating those names. They have an agent card. Basically, it's like you go into a building, you have your name tag.
Yeah.
Right. I can call you. I see your name tag, James. Okay, you are in HR. I know what you do. And I'm a software developer. And which department? And basically, it's like that. So you can think about a whole bunch of people with name card, but in this case, it's agents. They can see what each other was doing. So now your boss coming in that. So it could be a point of like the AGI or some higher intelligent kind of bot manage them, right? It can see, I need to do a project. Who's out there from software departments? See my name tag, I raise my hand and go there. And I need the legal department as well. So you quickly gathering all those like agents, right? It could be MCP, it could be whatever. So from anywhere around the world, you don't need it to be. For example, if I wanted to know who do kung fu best, should I connect it to a MCP server in Africa or in China, right? So you use the best the people around the world to do. And people, I mean, double code the AI system. So and just thinking about that give me goosebumps. Even like,
Well,
is
the
it good?
speed of it.
Yeah, and it's good, and it's also scary at the same time.
Yeah. When the speed of it, I mean, that's one of the things. Like, I had developed AI trading algorithms and bots and AI stuff, and it's scary in regards to the speed, because then you like when you need to unwind that and undo that, like it's doing this,
Mhm.
and you're like, hold on, I need to check this. I need to make sure this is correct. But it's
Yeah,
just going, and by the time it's done so much.
yeah.
I know we've got a couple of live listeners. I don't know if they have any comments there. Do we have somebody? Or am I
Don't
am I
let
wrong?
us scare you away. We're talking scary stuff.
Maybe they were AI. Who knows, Jinchao?
Oh, it's gone now. Look at what you just
I scared them off. I asked a question. What am I
Hey.
doing?
So sad.
Yeah. Well,
Which
we'll leave it at that for this week. Interesting conversation. We're going to see more of this happening, I would imagine, in regards to valuations and where they really are, and that kind of stuff can spook markets. And it is very interesting. And next week we'll go through more through that report. I
Mhm.
think we can see very interesting stuff. And I jumped through a bunch of the different slides that we can. I mean, individually we can unpack every single one of them and be so much information. But it's just like, what are the interesting points? What are the things we can talk about? It's 340 pages.
Yeah,
Like,
you need a week to digest that.
exactly. I wonder how we could do that, Jin Chao. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jin Chao. See you
Thank
guys
you.
next week.
Thanks, guys. Bye now.